Dear Mrs. President, dear colleagues, dear museum professionals, dear all. I spent a lot of time thinking how I should start today's speech because we were supposed to meet in a completely different place and under completely different circumstances. The past 6 months have revolutionized the nature of our professional and family lives. The time in question has been filled with the reflection and a lot of concern about what you would face the following day. This unique time made us realize the importance of our personal relationships and the possibility to meet and discuss things face to face in person rather than across a screen. Paradoxically enough, the virtual world has become a natural environment to us, a place where we could continue to work and, above all, further pursue the mission of our museum. We started to listen and narrate Krakow from behind a glass screen. When in March this year, the Minister of Health adopted a resolution to launch the state of pandemic in Poland, it changed absolutely everything in how the Museum of Krakow used to work. Only later did we realize that our existence would be frozen until 4 May. We have come to face a number of new challenges. More than 300 full-time staff members of the Krakow Museum had to change their work style. Thanks to our effective IT and HR departments, we have begun working online and then in a hybrid fashion. That was something completely new, a kind of travel to the unknown, yet it quickly united us under the banner of creative projects we're bringing to cyberspace. This is how we moved the weight of museum activity there. For a long time, our museum has been driven by the presence of audiences. In any urban museums, the audiences seek for narratives about the city. This is because the city is created by narratives. What would be Rome without the stories about Romulus and Remus? And what would be Frankfurt without the stories about trade? And how about New York without the stories about the creative culture melting pot full of ambitious immigrants and their descendants? A city untold will die. This is why our goal at the time of the pandemic, empty streets and closed restaurants, was to keep up the stories about Krakow. We started with a campaign, Stay Home and Tell Story of Krakow, during which we asked the people of Krakow to stay home and share their reflection about the time of the pandemic. We published them in our social media channels, attracting a wide group of people. With the very positive response from the local community, we have realized it was worth to take further steps. We addressed the community of city guides of immense importance to the continuation of narratives about Krakow. As a part of the Discover Krakow competition, we invited city guides to develop scripts for tourist routes around the lesser-known parts of Krakow. The campaign brought more than 20 valuable projects, which the Museum of Krakow will provide as an online application to let the users see the city themselves. The competition winners received many prizes. This is how we wanted to effectively support the community of city guides and this difficult time of the pandemic. The rhythm of the city, of its inhabitants, is often set by traditions and rites in the broad sense. We have come to feel it strongly in June, when we had to resign from the traditional format of the laconic procession, one of the most characteristic events that make up Krakow's identity. As we concluded that the city could not be deprived of the symbolic May's heat, believed to bring good fortune in the coming year, we have come up with a mini-series of films that shed light on the idea of the procession and its protagonists. The Museum of Krakow delivered an online broadcast culminating with the iconic solo dance at the Krakow Market Square, both the city and the mayor of Krakow paying tribute to the iconic. It would not be possible for us to address many of the challenges without setting up the digital communication team, a special unit mainly set up to coordinate all digital initiatives and set new directions in the development of the Museum of Krakow within the sphere of virtual communication with museum users. What is important is that the development of a team was very much a grassroots initiative. During the early lockdown days, employees with the high digital competence from the promotion, PR, multimedia, and IT departments took up the initiative to lead our digital evolution and offer to set up the digital team. With the team's efforts, we have delivered online debates and live broadcasts of important museum events, including new exhibition openings. The time of pandemic, the contemplation upon the life of the city and its inhabitants have triggered one more strong reflection in me, a reflection about the need to document all these experiences. Our temporary exhibition will provide a platform for a common dialogue in this respect, to illustrate and recapitulate the year in Krakow of the time of the pandemic. The project team is currently working on a script for this exhibition for the past few months. We have managed to invite members of the Krakow community, including inhabitants, entrepreneurs, people of culture and the arts, the educational sector, and sport to work with us. We want to develop our exhibition narrative in a multi-layered fashion as much as possible and highlight the diversity of the experiences with the emphasis that each of them is an immensely important and exceptional voice. We were collecting souvenirs documenting the time of the pandemic until 23 October. The exhibition is scheduled for opening of 12 March 2021 to mark an anniversary of the state of pandemic launched in Poland. The exhibition shows another important thing about present times. Normally, we plan exhibition in few years advance. This one is not only made within a year, but is also shifting and changing all time due to the development of the pandemic and people's reactions to it. With restriction and regulation changing all time, especially in last weeks, we learned to adjust instantly to change opening times, close open branches, move events from offline to online and back within days. Could say that we threw the Agile Museum in weekend course. On 8 September, as part of the Solidarity Day, the UNESCO World Heritage Cities, a medieval bell resounded from the town hall tower. For many centuries, the bell would announce sudden situations, often tragic ones, such as invasions and fires. To protect the community, its songs would let townspeople know that they need to take action due to the imminent danger. Krakow inhabitants used to be familiar with the bell sound and could readily recognize it. The townspeople of the time can be thought of as those living under the common sound of the bell. With the efforts of the Museum of Krakow, the bell has returned to its once place nearly many years later. Several times a year, it summons Krakow inhabitants to attend important events. The bell was renamed Boleslav to honor Boleslav V, the Chaste, who founded Krakow in 1257 under the Magdeburg law. The naming ceremony was conducted by the mayor of Krakow, Jacek Majchrowski. The fact that the bell was reinstated at this difficult time at the heart of the city was a special symbolic significance at this time. Hopefully, we will soon to be able to communicate the end of the pandemic to the local community. I believe that in my speech I should also say how the pandemic time has impacted our finances and the museum's plan. I believe we have all experienced similar problems, therefore I won't go into details. Suffice to say we had about 50% of budget from our own revenues, mainly ticket sales. And now at the peak of summer seasons, we had 40 to 30 of last year's attendance lower at the other times. The past 6 months have been hard and full of difficulties. Yet we learned important lessons. This pandemic was joined by the many other problems existing before, but made bigger in times of crisis. Post-truth reality and anti-scientific movements like the COVID negationists are serious threat to society and to museums. So are the growing tendencies of xenophobia and populism. Regarding the question resonating in museums in last years, we realize now more than ever that museums cannot be neutral. We need to take stance and empower sustainable societies.